pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, will you please call on roll? Edwards?
Here.
Patsakino? Here. Houston? Here. Kozak? Here. Panzera?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
President Keeler? Here. Mayor Kearns? Mayor Kearns is excused. Director Dvorsky?
Here.
City Attorney Kusam? Here. Director Miller? Here. All are present.
Thank you. Next, we have the approval of proceedings for July 5th and July 18th, 2022. Are there any comments? Any recommendations?
Motion I move to approve.
Need a motion?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Moving on, we have the oath of office for Officer Gregory Farrell. Please come forward, and anyone you would like up here with you, and Vice President Smith, if you'd like to join us. Stand right here. Kristen? All right, if you would like to stand right here, and we'll have you hold the thing. You'll have to put your right hand. Raise your right hand. There you go. Sorry, this is my first time. Just please bear with me. All right, if you could repeat after me. I, Gregory Farrell,
I, Gregory Farrell,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
solemnly swear I'll support the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Charter and ordinances of the City of Grandview Heights,
the Charter and ordinances of the City of Grandview Heights,
and will faithfully,
and will faithfully,
honestly,
honestly,
and impartially
and impartially
discharge the duties as a police officer
discharge the duties of police officer
for the City of Grandview Heights
for the City of Grandview Heights
in Franklin County, Ohio.
in Franklin County, Ohio.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you are joining us from Great Falls, is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
Well, welcome to Central Ohio. We're
Thank
so
you.
excited to have you here. On behalf of the police, welcome.
Thank you.
You know, I'm always fascinated by trying to get in a little easier.
I think it would be easy.
Right? Great. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. All right.
Thank you.
You're right.
You all get your photo? You want a photo? Yeah, good.
Got action shots.
Awesome. And then we'll have you sign this real quick. And Brenda will sign it when she comes back.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Congratulations to Officer Farrell. Moving on, we have, unless for visitors, we have quite a few tonight. I would just remind everyone, keep your comments to around 3 minutes, so that we can make sure everyone has their say. When you come up, you will come up to the podium, state your name and address and your comments. So first this evening, we have Mr. Jeff Reynolds.
My name is Jeff Reynolds, and I live at 1411 West 2nd Avenue. I'm here representing Sustainable Grandview. The last major change to a Grandview municipal building was made in the early 1960s. It's very clear to us that we need building a replacement municipal building with the long term in mind. We now see the world working to implement alternative energy sources, decarbonization, and alternative energy vehicles, Our new building should reflect our awareness of those changes. Half of all new vehicles sold by 2030 will be electric. That's maybe 5 years after building completion. Not only will installing items like solar panels, electric water heaters and stoves, and electric vehicle chargers now start us on the road to paying for our investment in alternative energy sources, but it will keep us from having to pay extra money and waste more resources to retrofit the facility later. Impacts of climate change are upon us even earlier than predicted. The news every evening, or every day on the internet if you prefer, reflects these impacts. Increased frequency and intensity of storms like hurricanes, all-time record temperatures set in England and other parts of Europe this summer, in Oregon and Washington last summer, unprecedented droughts and wildfires in California and other western states for the last several years. These are just some of the many symptoms of climate change already happening. Impacts in poorer parts of the world are less visible yet even more devastating. We must recognize our role in causing these problems. Addressing tragic events like major storms and wildfires is already costing our country billions of tax dollars, to say nothing of people losing their homes and their lives. Elsewhere in the world, entire island countries are planning for the end of their existence. Many millions of people residing in vulnerable areas who had a tiny contribution to this problem compared to the average U.S. resident are faced with loss of their homes and their lives. These concerns may seem distant and unrelated to us, but they are anything but. Sustainable Grandview is here tonight to encourage our city to do what must be done with any projects going forward. We have to minimize our contributions to the global climate crisis starting now. Future generations are depending on us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reynolds, for your comments. We appreciate that. Next, we have Mr. Austin Carter.
Hi, Austin Carter, 1203 Westwood Avenue. 2 items tonight. Number 1, number 75 CODA Bus Fan Club. CODA is making a decision about how many buses, what routes to run right now. I'd encourage anyone in the community, if you ride the number 75 bus into downtown in the morning, or you ride it to school in the morning, now is the time to be a squeaky wheel and write your CODA representative. Number 2 is to encourage City Council to please consider the many ways, many unspoken ways, that our governments subsidize some modes of transportation over other modes of transportation. At the federal level, there's a bill being considered where they're going to give $7,500 if you buy a new electric car. Provide $0 if you buy an electric bike, $0 if you ride the bus, and if you can't afford a car, you get $0. At the state level, state departments of transportation have, for many, many years, spent many billions of dollars on freeway expansions. But when it comes to investing in commuter rail systems in cities and intercity rail systems, the question all of a sudden becomes, how is this going to pay for itself? And at the local level, which is maybe more applicable here, there's a lot of examples, but to name one, consider the provision of free public parking. Our community devotes, like many communities, devotes large amounts of the public realm to free public parking. This is the only example where a private citizen is allowed to store private property in the public realm. If I were to get my dusty golf clubs and my old bike and my lawnmower from my garage and store it by the curb, my neighbors would consider that trash, and I would agree with them. But if I swap my car with that, that's totally fine. That's one example. So, all this to say, as you conduct the business of government, deciding what programs to fund, what programs not to fund, deciding how many parking spots to have at the new municipal building, deciding whether to build a protected bike lane so that kids can safely get to the K-12 athletic complex, and all of the many thousands of micro decisions that in aggregate decide that we live in every day and affect how people choose to get around. Please consider these ones which are maybe assumed and unspoken, and consider who they affect and how they affect people. That's it. Thanks.
Can I say something real quick? Just wanted to, Mr. Carter, thank you for your continued advocacy of the of code of bus lines in 75, and you did send me an email this weekend. I got bogged down. I'm sorry for the slow response. I will,
No, no worries.
okay. I will
Thanks,
reply.
thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. Next we have Dan. I'm sorry.
Now at Gosak?
There.
All right. 95 McLean Road, been in Grandview 18 and a half years, which I think what most of you would call a newcomer. Right? So, I just want to add my voice to similar as Mr. Reynolds here in support of seizing an opportunity to explore all avenues of sustainability in new upcoming construction projects. You know, Elis, she knows me as an architect, and she'd probably agree with me that most of us are kind of idiots. You know, we don't. her case excluded, of course, but we aren't always the most long-sighted people. So I encourage you in your conversations with your architects to pursue all opportunities for sustainability wherever possible. Because if they're not reminded of it, they really won't do it. They'll take the easy road out. And I can add to that sustainability there's many facets in how it benefits us in the community. It's not just fighting climate change, but there's been a lot of studies on how it actually can improve the wellness of the inhabitants or the users of the building. It can increase staff retention. It can improve recruitability for new staff members in this case, which I would assume also extends to your police and everybody else there. Return on investment is something, if you were adding money to this project for this, it will pay back. And it doesn't necessarily have to add money. I know we were talking about LEED. There's a lot of studies that show leadership, environmental energy design can add some cost to construction projects. Sometimes that can be as little as 1%, but a lot of times it's also just a trade-off of one aspect of a building versus another. And this is one that pays for itself. Other aspects of sustainability are social responsibility, increased productivity of people in the building, climate resiliency that's already been mentioned, and population health. But thank you for your time.
Very good, thank you for your comments. Next we have Mr. John Lazar. Thank you.
I'm John Lazar. Thanks for having me. 1378 Mulford Road. This is my son Wild, who is going to turn into a pumpkin any second now. So thanks for getting us in before 7:30. I essentially wanted to come here and lend support for Sustainable Grandview and the upcoming decisions y'all will make for the new building. But then I thought, why not use my son as a political pawn while I'm at it, and just talk to a point that Jeff made that. These decisions we're making are for us, but much more importantly, it's for Wild and his buddies in the neighborhood. We owe it to them to give them a world and a community that is going to be there for them and not let them down. So thank you for your consideration there. And the one extra kind of point that I'll make is, as a pediatrician, we've talked about a lot of the reasons that alternative energies and more sustainable energies and environmental initiatives are beneficial, but I see at least in terms of chronic lung disease like asthma, that certainly asthma attacks are linked to environmental quality or poor quality. So just one more reason that it's a smart choice to make decisions that will lead to a better environment, more sustainable future for our kiddos. So thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, and thank you for coming.
Wild, I don't think that's a biscuit, though.
Uh-oh.
Watch it.
We'll see you Saturday.
Okay.
I'm so happy to see young people come and experience our government at work. So thank you for bringing them this evening. Next we have Ms. Laura Rock, who would like to come to the podium, please.
Hi, my name is Laura Roth. I'm at 1205 Parkway North. I am truly a newcomer to Grandview. I've only been here about a year. Very happy to be part of this community and also here in support of Sustainable Grandview and the decisions that we made for the development of the municipal building. Just echo the comments Mr. Reynolds and all the other members of Sustainable Grandview said in terms of the importance of considering sustainability in the design for the new building. I come with no architectural expertise, just a true passion for taking care of our planet, for ourselves, and for the children of our future. So, thank you.
Great, thank you. Welcome to Grandview Heights. Just a quick comment, we do not have an actual design of the building yet, and should it pass this evening and be put on the ballot, there will be public open houses where information will be shared and you'll be able to see more information. So I just wanted to let you all know that. Very good, I have no other public comments, so we will move on to the department head reports. Parks and Recreation, Director Patterson.
Well, I just dropped my son off at Buck for the first day of football practice, and it's like, is summer over? And my calendar does not say it's over yet, because he has a ton of stuff going on still, which is great. Summer's been great, flown by, been very busy, a lot of activities, a lot of events, a lot of things have returned to their normal pre-pandemic state, so it's been great to see. I invite you to tomorrow night, if you can make it, to National Night Out across the street at Lime Woods. We have a great event supporting our safety forces, ton of activities, food, games, all that. Like I said, we have a busy month coming up. Working with some of the folks actually with Sustainable Grandview they're going to help us promote our upcoming pre-sale, which starts August 15th and runs for about 30 days. So we're hoping to get some additional participation in that. And thank you, Sustainable Grandview, for helping out with that. We've got National Night Out, the dog swim, Try the Heights, 2 more hops, a police and fire softball game, I think is in the works. I don't know if it's finalized yet in September, so keep your eye out for that. So a lot of things still coming up. I know school starts, parents don't cheer just yet. I'm kind of excited for that, but yeah. If there's any questions.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Director Patterson? I would like to thank you. I know this is your super busy season and everything's been wonderful. We really appreciate all of your hard work. So
Very well.
you and your team.
Thank you.
Thank you. As always, you're welcome to stay for the whole meeting, but you can be dismissed. All right, next we have council committee reports. Finance.
We met at 6:45, discussed ordinance 2022-09. I can speak to it when it comes up on the agenda.
Thank you. Planning and administration.
No reports?
Recreation services and public facilities.
No meeting for the committee members, Lord.
Safety.
No meeting and no report.
Economic development.
No meeting, no report.
And the aggregation exploration committee. I would like to update this to appoint Dorothy Pritchard as a resident on the committee. I've not found a subject matter expert, so at this point we will consider the committee complete and welcome you to move forward.
Ms. Clark,
Yes.
Are you still planning to have a subject matter expert to add to the committee or saying it's closed for the spring?
If someone who comes up who is able to serve comes up, we will be happy to nominate that person at that time. I just have not found the right fit. So we'll go ahead and plan on moving forward with it. Next we have council liaison reports. Grady Library.
The library report from Canaan says that they're offering now a limited supply of free COSI dinosaur learning lunch boxes, though it doesn't contain food. It's a partnership between COSI and the Ohio Library Council. The free kits include 5 dinosaur-themed STEM activities and science experiments for grades K through 8. Secondly, we had a great 36th annual Music on the Lawn season with about 3,500 attendees for 6 concerts, and 2 concert dates were canceled due to weather this year. The Summer Reading Club 2022 ended yesterday. Nearly 900 people participated. And then finally, the library service feature is Job Now. The online service gives patrons help with resumes, cover letters, and job interview techniques from live online coaches. It also features career resources, job hunting assistance, and test preparation resources. Thank you.
Thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed all the programming this summer, so please send my thanks to the library. Next, we have the school, is me. You'll see that the school garden has moved, good for them. The start of school is coming up. Ooh, yay, I don't know. So good luck to them, and we're looking forward to the completion of the school. Next, we have the chamber.
No report.
Thank you. Planning commission.
Planning Commission did meet. They had one application that was relatively immaterial, signage review and patio design for a new restaurant called The Rail that will be installed and is being completed in Granby Crossing facing Dublin Road. There was no action taken. They considered that a informal, and they will be resubmitting. But other than that, no action, no applications.
Coda.
The special advisory board meeting was canceled last month, so no report.
Thank you, Marcy. Our meeting is coming up this Thursday, so I hope to have more information at our next meeting. Destination Grandview.
There was no meeting in July, so no report.
Thank you, Sustainable 22.
The same thing, no meeting this past month and no report.
Mayor's report was forwarded to everyone today. If there's any questions, I don't know if any directors could answer. Any questions? All right, Director of Operations.
Thank you. Just a couple things to highlight, taking a lap around the city here. Some of the interesting items on the department head reports. Fire, indicates that they have 227 more calls for service this year over 2021. And another thing I saw on their report was the run stats, time of day of service. And I found that interesting. 9 a.m. to 6 o'clock are pretty similar on the higher end of things. 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. seem to be peak periods. That's the kind of data that's really helpful to figuring out workload. Similarly with the police department, it's of great interest that the last 6 months of calls, the variety on there. We've had anywhere from 634 calls a month up to 1,100. And it's this type of good data that department heads give us that allow us to figure out how do we deal with peak periods and proper staffing and so forth, and what the outliers are. Service department report was interesting because they have 1,000 recycling totes that we're getting. Service department will have a presence tomorrow night at National Night Out, and they will have a table there for people to sign up for totes if they are not already on the waiting list. They've been focusing a lot on curb painting. Looks good on First Avenue. First they they power wash it so it adheres nice, and then they come back and finish that. That'll be done before the end of the month. Daryl had mentioned when he was doing the department head report last month about the possibility of having to do an early purchase on the ductile piping and some of the signage and the poles and so forth. Today when we had our engineers meeting, they reaffirmed that that's still the case. So you'll be seeing that request come up before too long. Like on the mayor's report, the 311 rollout is going great. That team really put the system through its paces to make sure that you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. But we do look at that, and we try to close those out, and department heads are very good about sharing information, especially when it takes more than one department to deal with an issue. And we had a leadership change in the building and zoning department. We've been trying to fill a building inspector position there, so we prioritize some tasks and done some workload balancing, a career opportunity for an existing employee. And so that's a really good example of staff and leadership working together, thinking of the future and in essence paying it forward. And I will personally be taking the lead on coordinating that transition period to make sure it's smooth and seamless and so forth. So that's the nickel tour.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the director? No. Thank you very much. Moving on. Director Miller.
We had a big month in finance. We received the Auditor of State Award with Distinction for the 12th year in a row. A social media post about it. So that's a big deal for the finance team.
How many years in a row have we got?
This is the 11th.
Because we have the best finance team. We really do.
And also along those lines, we did our first popular annual financial report. So that is a report that we submit to get a certificate back, but basically it takes our 200-page annual comprehensive financial report and condenses it down to 9 pages. So it's a much more reader-friendly version of the financial statements. It includes some charts and that kind of thing. That was just released today on the city website, and we're going to put more information out there just to let the public know that that's available. It should be a much easier to read financial statement.
You didn't just put it in like 9.5.
Yes, I did. I just made it really little. All the things. We also received our second tranche of ARPA money this month. We also received our first of 18 distributions for the One Ohio opioid settlement. So we had asked council to approve our participation. It's a larger statewide settlement, and we received our first distribution. It's very specific uses, so the police chief is really going to have to work. I'm sure they'll all across the area be working together on how to use that money.
Can you explain what some of those uses are?
It's all about fighting opioid abuse, education, and just trying to.
Narcan, those sorts of things. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. Are there any questions for the director of finance? No. Thank you very much, and congratulations on once again receiving your award. Next, Director of Planning and Community Development, Director Parker.
Yes, several items I will highlight. One is, as some of you know, that the Tri-Village Chamber enjoyed the open house that we had, actually roundtable, that we had with our businesses, so much that they're going to pick that up as an activity that they do. They say quarterly. We'll see if it's really quarterly or less frequently than that. But anyway, the first ones are this month. They're going to do a combined one for Grandview Heights and Marble Cliff and another one for Upper Arlington. Anybody would be welcome to go. It's on the Chamber's website. Another just note, we have, I believe, now as many registrations on Growing Together as we had on the prior communication sign-up list. So I think we picked up, maybe it's not all the same people, but a good chunk of people. As I think you've heard somewhat, we're working on the pre-ordering items for Fairview to try to make sure that construction schedule stays on track. With regard to area planning, the area plan for this area down here to the east of this site, we've got a preliminary draft, really a draft final, I should say, available. We shared it with Planning Commission this past meeting. They're reviewing it now, and I'm expecting comments in August. Potentially after that, be ready to adopt that. With regard to the new building, very excited to get that finished. Final recommendations last month, and we're wasting no time and starting to look at execution planning for that. Very cognizant. Many of the conversations that have been going on over the past few weeks have been around the information that we've had shared with us by various contractors, developers, our architecture team, et cetera,
about the continued impact of inflation particularly, and how the faster we can move, the better off we are. Because every month the building just costs more, so the faster we can get there, the better. We do have some inflation built in, but the faster we can go, the better. So we are looking at progressing that process as quickly as we can right now. One of those items is on the agenda tonight. If you have any questions about that, happy to answer those. A reminder to share the site about the project out to folks if you can, and that's easily accessed off the Growing Together website. It's on the link is on your report as well. We are getting close as well for that temporary planning, getting close on a plan to stuff as many people as possible back up the hill. So you'll be hearing more about that, I think not before too long, for temporary provisions there. We've been liaisoning with the school a little bit. They're continuing with master planning themselves. They've got some considerations that dovetail with Columbus because the athletic fields are in Columbus, so we've been kind of trying to get those folks connected. It would have already happened if it hadn't been for some family things in my life going on that we had to delay a meeting, but we are working on that. We also had a meeting with Franklin County to understand better how the relationship is between the county, townships generally, and cities with regard to planning considerations and how we come together and support Clinton Township in further planning. The Economic Development Strategic Plan is also continuing. We have rough drafts of some additional phases of that we're reviewing right now. They're working on strategies and tactics, taking all the information that they got from everybody, and some of you sat in on the interim presentation for economic development, Ryan, and I'm sure else was there, Emily. Sustainability also took a step forward this month. We have an internal working group established now and monthly meetings on the agenda to work towards meeting the MORPC 2050, the whole big long list of provisions. And so we're developing a plan to kind of execute on various ones of those, prioritizing the ones that are easier to get to faster, that kind of thing. A little bit more formalized process internally with that. And then let's see, continued discussion, probably the thing of note would be continued discussion with Thrive regarding Grandview Crossing. There are people down there now living in the first apartment building, so we're just getting some additional clarity on how that development will continue to interface with our safety services personnel. And similarly for Grandview Crossing, the back building, the one on Bowman Way, is occupied now. The two in the front are still under construction, so we're kind of just keeping an eye on that. What's that?
Yeah.
Yes, that station. What did I say?
You said crossing.
Anyway, I think that's those are the highlights.
Thank you. I'm sorry that you're really bored and have nothing to do.
That's sad.
No, but we always appreciate everything you do. Thank you for all your continued hard work. Are there any questions for the director? Okay, moving on. City Attorney report.
If I may, Liz, just for the benefit of some of the people here who are interested in sustainability issues, can you give the website address for the Growing Together?
Well, yes, I should be able to do that. Just growingtogether.grandviewheights.gov. Pretty easy. All smushed together.
Thank you. Thank you. If you've not visited and signed up, you should definitely do it, please. All right.
I have submitted my report and I would be happy to answer questions.
Are there any questions for the director? No. Seeing none, we'll move on to old business item number 1.
Resolution 19-2022, a resolution to waive the provisions of section 529.07B3 of the codified ordinances for the M3S sports event August 28th, 2022 in the city of Grandview Heights.
Thank you. This is third reading. Not assigned to committees. It's pretty routine. Is there any discussion? Any motion?
Second.
Motion second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Edwards?
Yes.
Katsipatinos?
Yes.
Houston?
Yes.
Kozak?
Yes.
Panzera?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
President Keeler?
Yes.
Resolution 19-2022 has been approved.
Thank you. Moving on with old business item number 2.
Ordinance 2022-09, an ordinance to approve supplemental appropriations during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2022.
Thank you. I would like to withdraw this legislation as the sponsor. We have found additional appropriations within the existing budget that would move to transfer the $5,000 in the community fund to the council, what's it called, council?
From the community grants fund to the special projects.
There we go.
Line items.
I would like to move those line items. I don't think council action is required, but I would like to have it, and voice vote is sufficient, correct? So I would move
And then the three.
to the existing $3,000 for a total of $8,000 of appropriations. I would make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. That's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Moving on to old business, item number 3.
Ordinance 2022-13, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into a lease agreement with M3S Sports for the use of Ray DeGraw Park.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Any motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Hatsapatinos?
Yes.
Houston?
Yes.
Kozak?
Yes.
Panzera?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
President Keeler?
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-13 has been approved.
Thank you. Moving on to old business, item number 4.
Ordinance 2022-14, an ordinance determining to proceed with an issue of bonds in the amount of $25 million, certifying the same to the Board of Elections, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is the third reading. Is there any discussion on
I did have something that's minor, but on section 6, it says the clerk of council of the council, and I wondered if it was supposed to be the clerk of council of the city of Grand Heights.
We used to strike out the second of the council.
Thank you.
We don't need any materials, we don't need any kind of amendments or
No, I can just, yeah.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments?
Move to approve.
As amended.
Yes, as a clerical matter, yes.
Thank you. That's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Houston?
Yes.
Kozak?
Yes.
Panzera?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Hatsapatinos?
Yes.
President Keeler?
Yes.
Resolution 2022-14 has been approved with amendments.
Thank you, everyone. Moving on to old business, item number 5.
Ordinance 2022-15, an ordinance authorizing the use of a portion of the proceeds of the obligations of the city of Grandview Heights, Ohio, in the estimated principal amount of $25 million to be issued for the purpose of constructing a facility for fire, police, and municipal services, furnishing and equipping the same, improving the site thereof, including infrastructure improvements, and acquiring land and interest in land necessary in connection therewith, and declaring an emergency.
I feel like you need a big breath. Thank you. Is there any discussion? This is related to the item we just had. No? All
Move
right.
to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Kozak?
Yes.
Panzera?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Hatsapatinos?
Yes.
Houston?
Yes.
President Keeler?
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-15 has been approved.
Thank you. Exciting times in Grand Heights. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to new business, item number 1.
Resolution 20-2022, a resolution accepting the recommendations of the Grandview Heights Tax Incentive Review Council of various City of Grandview Heights tax incentives.
Thank you. Councilmember Edwards, Director Miller, anyone?
Sure, yeah, sure, the Tax Incentive Review Council met June 23rd, reviewed 4 existing tax incentive agreements. All were determined to be in compliance with the terms of their agreement. One notable outcome that's worth mentioning is, was a recommendation to terminate the agreement of 1123 Goodell Boulevard, otherwise known as Tri-Village Self-Storage, due to the fact the business has been sold to another owner. Is that the
That is
basis of it? And then on the other three, it was recommended to continue on with the agreements.
Thank you, and that's reflected in the legislation, correct?
Yep.
Is there any discussion? Motions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second, clerk, please call the roll.
Panzera,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Katsipatinos,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Bozak,
Yes.
President Keeler.
Yes.
Resolution 20-2022 has been approved.
Thank you. New business item number 2.
Resolution 21-2022, a resolution self-certifying 50,000 micro-purchase threshold for use of federal funds.
Miller, anybody want to talk about this?
I can talk about this. There was a change in the federal law regarding bidding and purchasing using federal funds. By passing this legislation, this allows the city to go up to $50,000 before we have to competitively bid anything using federal money. If we don't pass this, we can only spend up to $10,000 without competitively bidding. So this is just allowing, we'll have to redo this every year, but it allows us to go up to $50,000, which is the same as the Ohio Revised Code and the city code for all of their purchases.
Okay. So if we don't pass this, we can buy a bike.
Yep, maybe.
Got it. Is there any discussion on this? Is there any motions?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second, clerk, please call the roll.
Smith,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Katsipatinos,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Bozak,
Yes.
Panzera,
Yes.
President Keeler.
Yes.
Resolution 21-2022 has been approved.
Thank you. New business item number 3.
Resolution 22-2022, a resolution accepting a grant from the 2022 to 2023 Ohio EMS grant from the Ohio Department of Public Safety.
Again, Director Miller.
This is an annual grant we receive. Typically, it's closer to $3,000, but it is supported by seatbelt fines. And due to COVID, there were fewer seatbelt fines, and there was less money for this grant. So we were awarded $661.23 for the fire department to use for EMS equipment and training. So this is accepting that money.
Thank you. I don't feel a need to assign that to a committee. Are there any motions?
You sure you don't want to?
It's questionable. It's a large amount of money, but I think.
It's the first read.
I'm pretty confident in that.
I will move to approve.
Thank you. Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion second, clerk, please call the roll.
Edwards,
Yes.
Katsipatinos,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Kozak,
Yes.
Panzera,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
President Keeler.
Yes.
Resolution 22-2022 has been approved.
Thank you. Business item number 4.
Ordinance 2022-16, an ordinance to approve supplemental appropriations for initial design required to move Grandview Center to McKinley Field during fiscal year ending December 31st, 2022.
Thank you. Director Colker.
Yes, so as I alluded to earlier, in looking at the total impact of any delay with regard to jumping on, working on these projects and moving them forward, we really have come to the conclusion that responsible thing to do is to move forward as quickly as we can. So we'll start, we're asking for funds that allow us to start design work on the Grandview Center at McKinley Field so that we can get that project off the ground as quickly as possible, so that we can get this project, the municipal building, off the ground as quickly as possible as well. The overall risk we feel in delaying is more than the risk with proceeding currently, substantially more. So that is why we're looking to get started as soon as possible. The timing is also really good in the fall. People are in town. We're able to do public meeting series where we'll be able to get good public engagement, we feel. And so that is the request for this evening.
Are there any questions for the director? We will record that as a first reading, and I will assign that to Recreation Services and Public Facilities. Moving on, other business.
New new liquor permit request, a request for a new D5J/D6 liquor permit number 2531507, ETC of Ohio LLC, DBA Wings, etc., located at 775 Yard Street, first floor, Grandview Heights, Ohio, 43212.
Thank you. There was no objections from the chief, correct? No objections? No, there was not. Thank you. I'm so excited.
She's really stepping up as the new.
I can't wait. I love my chicken wings. Anyways, is there any concerns? If not, I would fancy a motion to not object.
I would move that the city not object to this assignment of a new liquor license for that entity.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Moving on, we have comments from council members. I will just reiterate, National Night Out is tomorrow night. I hope to see everyone there. I'm so excited.
Officially, what's the hours?
It starts at 5 o'clock.
5 to 8.
5 to 8, there we go. As well as voting tomorrow, so please everyone come out and vote. And thank you to everyone who voted on the ballot initiative tonight. I'm excited to see where Grandview Heights goes from here. Other comments? Yes, Michelle? Are you
I just was wondering, I sent an email into a few of you a while back to ask if we could possibly move the meeting here because they're trying to get in and set up for voting tomorrow, and then I didn't hear back. And I saw Tom and I talked with him and he said it's the most important one, it would be for November, so I don't know if there's a way to reschedule this meeting, move it up a little bit so they could get in to start setting up.
Sure, I believe we were in contact, I'm sorry, I did not respond, so I thought I had, with the Franklin County Board of Elections, and it really should go through them, and we should work in conjunction with.
I didn't know that, I hadn't heard back, so I didn't know that.
Sorry, I apologize, I thought I had responded, but thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, Councilmember Houston?
Thank you. I wanted to highlight a couple things related to climate, similar to friends and colleagues with Sustainable Grandview, and as it pertains to our upcoming aggregation committee work. So as folks know, there have been a lot of different decisions handed down, very important decisions from the Supreme Court recently. One of those was a decision in the case West Virginia versus EPA, which essentially severely limits the EPA's ability to regulate carbon emissions under a provision of the Clean Air Act, and which was something that started under the Obama administration but has been under litigation. And so basically what this court case does is to make it such that the US EPA can't regulate carbon emissions from new power plants, though it still has the ability to regulate, from old power plants, still has the ability to regulate from new plants. And so the reason I share that is that decision makes it that much more important for local governments and states to be taking action on clean energy and climate. And then secondly, wanted to share that a report was recently published by the Power Clean Future Ohio, Ohio Environmental Council, and SIOTA Analysis related to the costs of climate to municipalities. And basically the takeaway was that local governments will need to increase municipal spending by as much as $5.9 billion annually by mid-century in order to adapt to the challenges of a worsening climate crisis. And they looked at specific estimates for cities across the state, including Columbus in the mix there. So I'll send around that report and some articles associated with it to you all, but just wanted to highlight that in the space of our meeting this evening. Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Okay, well with that, we will adjourn so that we can get set up for tomorrow. Thank you.